Welcome to the Mid-Penn Bank Podcast, hosted by President and CEO Rory Retrieve. In this episode, Rory is joined by Corey Deibler, President and founding partner of KeyTax. Here's the conversation.
We want to always tell people, the closer you are to it, the better.
The better sound. I love it.
So, it's good. Nice to see you, a little jazzy. Get people in the right mood.
Yeah. This is better than elevator music for sure.
So, did your kid start school this week?
Grayson starts Wednesday, and Sophie, and he's at St. Joe's, going into sixth grade. And then Sophie starts Trinity next Tuesday.
Okay, so is that like, do they all start next Tuesday, or is that like freshmen started?
No, freshmen probably come in either late this week or Monday.
Oh, so she's not a freshman?
No, she's a junior already.
No.
Man. We're looking at colleges.
Get out of here.
Yeah,
man.
She's on the Southern tour, looking down south, all this stuff. She's driving. She gets her full license.
No.
Yeah, man. You know how it is.
I mean, I saw her at the golf tournament, and I know she's not the same little girl that I, probably the last time I saw her, but I just didn't know that much time had passed.
We're on the college tour.
How's Grayson doing?
Good, man. He's got he saw his arm. So the other day he went in and it's coming back together, but not the way they wanted. So they had to reset it.
Yeah.
No.
So does he still have was it left arm?
It's wrist. Yeah.
Yeah.
Totally
left
smashed.
wrist.
Yeah. So they
and it was one of those casts like up into a 90-degree angle,
and it got bigger after this last set. But
right.
It's one of those. It's going to. He had to get it reset to help it heal faster.
Right.
And they put a bigger, more like immobile one. 3 weeks though, it's off. And then if things go well, he could get back out in a little bit, but they're going to give him the JJ Watt like robotic.
Did Quick reach out to you?
Not yet. Was he going to?
I sent him a text and I told him.
That's his
I sent him a picture.
Oh man!
And I said, your boy Grayson, had a little problem, and he said
they have a bromance, and it's great.
He sent back. He said, "Oh man, tell him I said, I'm thinking about him." I figured he would reach out to you, but that as I told you when you showed me those pictures, that happened to me sophomore year. Are you running?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that happened to me.
Yeah, let's go.
The clock's not running.
Okay.
I swear I hit the up.
It happened to me sophomore year.
Okay.
And I was playing football on the weekends with friends. Yeah. And
rumble fumble.
Yeah. Like, I don't know, 4-on-4 or whatever. And I was quarterbacking and I tossed it to a guy who was like the running back. Right, he was like tailback. So he gets up and one of our friends on the other team was a bigger dude. Mm-hmm. And he was scary. Like he would like smash people all the time. So my friend gets up to the line, sees him, and throws it back to me.
Flea flick.
And it was like, I wasn't expecting it, so I didn't field it.
Right.
Like it's on the ground, so as soon as I pick it up and I turn, now he's on me. And he hits me like full force right into my chest. And I got the ball, so that's pinned against me. So I put that hand back to try to brace the fall, and I landed like backhanded, snapped it right, compound fracture.
Done.
Right in half. Finished playing that day.
Of course.
Of course, like a dummy.
Put some dirt on it.
And, I went home and I showed my mom. And, I don't know why we didn't go to the emergency room that day.
Right.
We went the next day to get it set. So all night. And by the way.
Tough night.
No crying.
Yeah, of course not.
And the next day, the reason I'm telling you the story is because the next day, so this is 1979, I believe. 78 or 79. The Yankees and the Red Sox ended the season that day, Sunday, tied.
Oh, wow.
And there was no tiebreaker. Like, I think their record against each other was also tied, and their record in the AL East was also tied. So they had a one-day playoff game.
Right.
And it was that day. So I'm in the hospital. And they did it in the middle of the day.
All right.
So I'm in the hospital getting my arm casted, and I'm watching the game. And that's when Bucky Dent hit a solo shot in the bottom of the ninth and won the game. It was a walk-off because the game was tied.
Correct.
And Bucky Dent hit. So that became known in Boston as Bucky effing Dent.
Yeah, effing Dent. See, we grew up, Yankee fans in it's Steelman's Wild where I grew up. Like, there's Yankee fans, Notre Dame fans, like
a lot of Notre Dame fans.
Oh, it's
right?
crazy,
Yeah.
right? And
yeah.
Cowboy fans. And
yeah, because there's a big Catholic population in Steelton, so
and even
because they had like 5 Catholic churches at one point,
more
didn't
than that. Yeah, and they all merged and shut down.
Yeah,
that was a mess. And there's still some old timers there that still have those old.
Yeah, they had like St. James and St. Lawrence and
all
the saints.
Yeah, they're all of them. Right. So it's Steelton at that time, and we'll go all over the place today. But there was a church and a bar on every street.
Yeah. No,
that's
all
24/7. Yeah,
right.
And not all of them got along.
Right.
Except within.
So was it like depending upon what section of the mill you worked in, that's where you went? Or was it where you lived?
I think it came down to probably your neighborhoods too, or then you had the Heist Bar, crew too. They probably had their own bars down that way.
So how much was that was still like active when you were a kid?
So when I was my son's age, Grayson, he a little before that. I guess when I was like 6. So like I'll backpedal a little bit. My older brothers, Robbie and James, both played at Steel High in the early 80s. And that's when my dad was a head football coach there. And I would say...
Oh, your dad was a head football coach?
Yeah.
I don't think I knew that.
So he keep going back, but he came up through the George Chomper regime at John Harris. And then he ended up at Steel High as the head coach after... a guy named Bruce Evans lost like 3 games in a row.
I know.
And they were throwing suitcases.
Bruce Evans went to McDevitt then.
Yeah, they were throwing suitcases at his front yard to get him out. So then my dad took over and they ran off like 19 straight or something crazy. So they ended up being like number 1 in the state from like small Steel High, but at the big boy level because the mill was cranking and the town was cranking. This
before Mickey Minnick or after?
No, it was right after Mickey Minnick. Okay. So Mickey was there like 77, like they won titles there under Mickey too, I believe. 1 or 2. And my dad will kill me because I'm butchering this, and then went to a couple other coaches. And then after that Bruce Evans thing, my dad stepped in and then he coached there for a couple years. And then they ended up winning one when my brother Rob was the quarterback. So my brother Jamie had went on to Temple. And I'd say... So
was that like... What year was that?
84 was
they won
my
a state.
Brothers. Yeah, I think that was the one with my brother. And then they ended up beating Mechanicsburg. But then the year before that, they played CV and lost to CV against when Fort Chapman was there. So this is that era. And I was like the water boy.
Right.
So I grew up in that. That's when Steelton probably, and people would say, was at probably the apex before the mill shuts down, people move out.
Yeah.
Not enough kids.
Like the mill shut down officially when? Was it? I know that it was like on life support for a while. And
like that Mittal came in and got him for a while. And then there was just some, and these are things that I'll butcher, but I think the long and the short is it just never worked out.
Right.
And if people, families who could get out did, and they moved to other districts and they moved, and then backfilling into this, into the town with non-Steeltonian people. And then I don't want to say the town lost its identity, but it was a different town because of it. So the school, everything was.
Well, I mean, you remember back in the days, like they had that, what's it called, the Trotton Brew or whatever it was.
Can I elaborate on that?
It's like a 1 mile run.
This is the best thing.
And you had to
bar to bar, right? They had the runners numbers, right?
Every bar and drinking beer or something like that.
A little pint, or not a pint, but a mug, and you kept going. And the whole town would shut down. I have a T-shirt at home still with all the sponsors.
Well, like, what was the last year they did that?
Somebody had a falling out. Somebody went down.
Someone did something wrong.
And then legal got involved, and that was it. But that was the town that I remember.
It's like the Higgins pigeon shoot. That was like the thing up there forever, and then political correctness caught up
things
to it.
Happened.
And
And I those are the things I remember. I remember stopping with my mom on the way at like Hall's Sporting Goods to get my brother wristbands because he was a pretty quarterback and he needed fresh white wristbands, and then drinking all the Gatorade because Gatorade wasn't a thing yet, but Steel High had it.
Wait, where'd you go for those wristbands?
Halls. I think Halls. Yeah. So my stepmother.
So I was telling you because Corey was a very big sponsor. Keytax was a very big sponsor of the golf outing this year, and they, along with Shanks, did the shirts that we gave to all the players. Great shirts, by the way.
Thank you.
Very well designed. I wore one of them this weekend. But Shanks used to be Shank and Tittles back when I was a kid.
Sure.
And that's, if you went to get sporting goods, that's where you went.
Yeah.
Whether you were with a team or just, I think they had a retail store too.
Great company. Their family goes back. I mean, that's a legit. just very respected company that battles against, all these promotional companies.
Right.
And they do work for the big boys.
Well, I mean, I think that,
it,
the Dunhams, which I think was the first big store that came into the Harrisburg area. Them. They put a hurting on Shank and Tittles, and then, Dick's came in, and,
you have the internet then,
right.
with online sales.
Absolutely.
And, but what they've been able to retain those relationships that matter with the Yinglings and Hershey's of the world. And they do go work.
But
as you can see,
but for Steelton, it was Halls.
It was Hall. So that's my stepmother who just passed away, unfortunately. I told you that. Her she was a Hall. So that was Bud Hall's shop. So that's what.
So Nikki is a Hall.
It's Nicole. No, that's my. Did I say mother-in-law? I meant stepmother.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, Nicole is a DeFrank.
Yo, really?
David DeFrank.
Which DeFrank?
So her dad is Dennis, and then her uncle Steve, who you know. Steve's always around McDevitt, big at St. Catherine's. Yeah. It's like
so I knew the DeFranks that I think were actually the coach from Trinity.
Okay, so
I think his son was Harry DeFrank.
Zip.
Zip,
Zip. So Nicole's grandfather.
He never liked being called Zip.
No, I know. That whole crew they're Nicole's cousins. So Nicole's grandfather, Ernie, and Harry were brothers.
Oh, okay.
So that's the connection.
Okay.
There. So when Nicole and I started dating, I remember Ernie just being beside himself, and Harry like, oh my God, she found a Steelton boy. They're from Steelton. All the legends.
So they were happy.
And I'm over at Trinity now, right? My kids go there and stuff. So now like I always talk junk.
So there's DeFrank blood. In the Deibler kids.
Yeah, that's our children are Deibler and DeFrank hybrids. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it's comes a lot that comes with that.
That DeFrank name. So Zip was my freshman football coach at McDevitt.
Okay.
And he wasn't the varsity coach in basketball at that time, freshman year. I think it was still Marino DeFilippo.
Okay.
But he became the varsity coach by the time I was a senior. Now I didn't play basketball, so didn't impact me one way or another. But,
sure. Yeah.
I always liked that guy. I always thought Zip was a pretty cool.
Yeah, they're old school. They were. Harry was. I spent some time around him, towards the end there. But you just heard stories of him and just what he would say.
The Trinity coach.
Yeah. He just guys like that. You just shut up and listen.
When my daughter was born, he was still coaching Trinity.
Which one?
Juliana.
Okay.
She's 27 now.
Sure.
And I just always thought that from the day she was born, I'm like, she's going to play basketball.
Mm-hmm.
And she's going to play for Harry at Trinity because we were living on the West Shore. And she ended up playing basketball, and she was a really good player at Good Shepherd. She was,
Mary
scored
Balaban, did Mary coach her?
No, I coached.
Oh, you coached her? Okay.
Yeah, I coached her. She started playing in 4th grade. I coached her 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th.
Right.
So I was coaching varsity.
All right.
And her varsity year, she scored a couple hundred points.
Nice.
And it was funny because we were playing, what's the place down in Hummelstown? St. Joan of Arc.
Oh, Joan of Arc.
We were playing St. Joan of Arc.
Okay, they moved.
Yeah.
Well, they're
it's more Hershey.
Yeah.
So we're playing St. Joan of Arc, and one of the Maloneys was either the head coach or the assistant head coach of St. John's, or maybe you heard one of her kids. I don't know. She's at the game, and this particular game, and every time we played St. Joan of Arc, it was like a two or 3 point game, and this was no exception. And we ended up winning it in the last minute, won by like 1. And Juliana scored like 16 points.
I love it.
And I mean, you're talking about like the final score was probably 31-30.
That's right, yeah.
So she scored 16 points, and this woman comes up to me and she said, "You're the coach of Good Shepherd." And I said, "Yeah." And she goes, "That number 13, could I talk to her?" And I said, "Well, that's my daughter. What do you want to talk to her about?" And she said, "Well, I'm an assistant coach in McDevitt. We'd love her to come to McDevitt." Mm-hmm. I said, "Well, you can go talk to her." I said, "I don't think her mom's going to let that happen." So they tried to, get her to go to McDevitt and
didn't go.
And she wanted to, but my wife wouldn't let it happen.
Yeah, it's tough to have. You'd had two on either shore.
Right. So she ended up going to Trinity, but Harry was,
yeah,
he was out by then.
Yeah, what a legend. His name's on the court, and I always talk. So when Jordan Hill was over there coaching for a while, I used to. Steel High guys, Trinity guy, and I graduated from McDevitt, so there's the McDevitt and Trinity rivalry too.
Right.
I used to always but bring it up, say, well, you got Jordan Hill from Steelton over here, Kostelak's from Steelton, and the Franks are from Steelton,
right?
And Hortensios are from Steelton, so
that's right.
So you can't. So save that east west side.
Like growing up in a town like that, though? I mean, because I know that Steelton pride then was probably incredibly strong. It still is today, but maybe a little bit different. But
it's one of those things. The sense of community, like you never lack from a sense of community,
right?
You're always getting pushed or tested by either your own family or the kid. Everybody's tough,
right?
And
it's multicultural. Like at every different color, every different,
no racism. There was no sexism. I don't remember any of this stuff as a kid, or if it was there, our parents did a really good job of shielding us from it, or none of us had enough money to care.
Right.
I mean, my dad
like everyone was kind of in the same economic boat. Some people were a little bit better off than others. Yeah, right. Exactly.
And like the Navarro was like good friend of yours, like the Casa Chica, like those are the places that I remember.
Right.
The Roller Inn, the Casa Chica, Gornick's. I mean, Gornick's was like the first sports bar in the area, and you walked in there, and it had Steelton history going back 100 years.
Right.
I played 4 years or 3 years at Steel High, and one of the years I was there, I think it was the 100th year of football.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was my sophomore year, maybe my junior year. I transferred just for my senior year to McDevitt, but growing up there, it wasn't always easy. My dad was a principal there too, so I had to go to school every day with my dad, the principal, and so you can't really act up too much.
So he was the principal and the head football.
He didn't coach me. He retired. He had some some circulation.
But I mean, at some point in his life, he was both.
Between him and his uncle there, my brother Rob. I mean, the three of them there were 75 years combined coaching.
Why do you go 3 years to Steel and then go to McDevitt Senior? Did you know you guys were going to win a state championship?
So, I mean, there was assumptions that I would help that. I came at that tail end. So that when you asked earlier about when the town started to whatever, I'm not going to talk bad about Steelton at all, but you could see the writing on the wall because we were playing 4A. We were playing quad A. It was not 6A now. 4A was the biggest. Mm-hmm. But we had 30 kids on the team like they do now.
Right. And playing quad A, playing Cumberland Valley. Because when you said that you guys played Cumberland Valley, I'm thinking, how in the heck were you guys playing Cumberland Valley?
Started 3 years every game. So we went. My record at Steel High as a starter was 4-27-1. Right.
4-27-1.
We were 0-11.
Right.
3-7-1 and 1-10.
Now, who was the coach then?
So I had 4 coaches in 4 years.
Wow.
A guy named Bill Morton came in from Pittsburgh. We went 0-11, but we were young and whatever. So there was a little bit of hope there. Then a guy named Vince Hoke came in. He was on the staff with my dad and George Chomp at John Harris, and then he goes on to coach at Temple. My brother Jamie went to Temple, played there, and then he recruited my brother Rob at not Minnesota, wherever it was. So, and my dad and him were dear friends. He came back for my sophomore year. We won the first 3 games. So here Steel High's back,
right?
But we beat Susquehanna East in mechanics.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then here comes Carlisle. Here comes, Cumberland Valley, which John Ritchie, my freshman year. My God, my first game ever at Steel High, I played against Johnny Hicks.
So was that his senior year? Ritchie's
my freshman year. Yeah, ran all over. So they smoked us. But there's nothing you could do about that at that time at Steel High football. Mm-hmm. And I remembered being on the sidelines with my family, with my dad, with my brothers, and I'm like, man, I gotta. And McDevitt coaches. So 4 Chapman's there. Scott Feldman's there, guys that knew me.
So that's right, 4 was.
So it was really easy. I wish I'd done it the year before, honestly, because there might have been, and it's not about me, but like they were lacking toughness up front from that team because they were ultra talented speed wise. It was the same guys that we had my senior year.
Right.
They were just a little, light in the ass up front.
Yeah.
They lost, they got upset. So that was something I was.
So did you play both lines?
Yeah.
What did you play on offense?
Played guard in a couple games, but then they moved me like a fullback that never could touch the ball.
Right.
So we would go like a heavy set, and I would just kick out the end and give it to Tommy Mealy, and he's gone.
Yeah.
But defense, nose guard, D tackle was I only played 4 games at offense that year because we just had guys that could. I mean, our backups ended up being all state.
Was the calling card of that team the defense or the offense?
I would say defense. I think we
and
pitched,
what did you play? Did you play nose?
Yeah, stand up nose sometimes, mostly D. I played our front 4 defensive linemen. And count the backups. It was Khalil Nash who ended up going to Ole Miss. Yeah. He was a junior. Both Painter brothers, right? Both went to Clarion. Myself and Steve Spalgeric. Steve went to Fordham. I went to Bucknell. And then the backups that were like sophomores that year, they were all ended up rocking. Cangelosi, the junior. We had a backfill of animals. So. I mean, good luck, right? I think we pitched 7 shutouts that year. We gave up like 7 points a game. So, but we had Ricky Nelson,
Yeah.
number one wideout in
And
the country.
who's the I can't
Jordan Scott.
Jordan Scott.
Listen,
Yeah.
that kid was the best athlete
Yeah.
I've ever seen. He was only this big, but he
Right.
could go up dunk. He could ice skate.
Right.
He could whatever he wanted to do. Hit a
And
baseball,
did
throw a
they?
baseball.
I mean, I think Ford was pretty progressive. Coach, were they throwing a lot then, or
we
was
did
it
all kind of
Yeah.
So we were no huddle.
right?
He signaled everything in from the sidelines, and you had to just know the play, and that was like revolutionary back then.
So but living in Steelton at that time and with Steel High, was it kind of like Friday Night Lights? Like if the team lost, the whole town was upset? Because I know Steelton still to this day they take a lot of pride in the football team
Passionate,
and their basketball.
Here's
team.
a great story from back before my day when my brother Rob was a junior, and they lost down at Hershey in a state playoff game to Cumberland Valley, I believe, like 7-6 or 13-12, something crazy they got. And Rob's in the second bus because they had enough players for 2 buses. Seniors up front in the bus, and then the underclassmen in the back. They're going down 322, and he starts seeing these red ribbons flying by. He's like, what the hell is that? They were the senior silver medals up front, throwing them out of the.
They didn't want
They didn't want him.
Yeah.
They didn't want
Second
him.
place,
They didn't want him.
first loser.
On
Yeah.
322.
Yeah.
Rob was like, I'll never forget that. And then the next year, Rob Senior, they won.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They won a state.
Yeah.
So
But that was that Sailor ranking system back
Yeah.
then. Like they didn't have a true playoff like we
right.
did.
That's
you
that's
know?
what I thought.
So it was just kind of like the AP or
Because
coaches.
we had, I can't remember, I guess it was Dave Latour when we had him and we were talking about, he was on that, or he was at McDevitt right after the Jimmy Bryant,
Oh yeah,
Ricky Waters,
yeah.
Sean Borowski
Yep.
team that
Saw 2 of the
had to be the best team in the state at that point.
the best backfield I've ever heard of.
I don't know if they lost a game. Maybe he said they did lose
They
one
did.
game, but they didn't have state championships.
Mm-mm.
They only had a district, and they won the
I
district.
reminded Ricky that at the
Yeah.
Mid-Penn event.
Yeah, it was so great having him in
Yeah,
for
well,
that.
Sean was there too. I got
Yeah.
to see both of those guys. You talk about 2 legends there. You know,
Wait, LaShawn was where?
no, Sean Borowski.
Oh, Sean Borowski.
he
was
could-
he at the? Was
he
he?
didn't come in. He came to the lot. He heard Ricky was there and came over and gave Ricky some love, and we were talking there for a little. And I knew Sean from him and my brother Rob.
Did he come? Did he come into the pairings
He
party?
didn't come in. I told him to. He should have.
Why
I
would he
don't
not
know.
have?
I don't know.
I mean, I would have loved to see
I
Sean. I
know.
haven't seen Sean in a long time.
We'll get him there next year. Yeah.
I saw a picture, and it looked like it was there
He was
of
there.
him afterwards. Maybe he didn't come into
He
the
might
room,
have.
but
He might have.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know how that night goes.
yeah. But I don't.
It's
I don't remember who I see and
Yeah,
who I
yeah.
don't see. But yeah, it would have been great to
Yeah.
see them. And you know, that was the first time I met Ricky. And actually, it's not the first time I met him. I met him and I reminded him of this fact because you know my friend Ken Cockenaire.
I'm sure.
So
Right.
Ken, he's not from around here. He owned the Holiday Inn West, you know, where Wanda's was back in the day.
Right now it's BJ's wholesale.
Yeah,
It's
right.
Yeah, it's wild.
But he owned the Holiday Inn next to the vet,
Okay.
right? And he bought it in 1993 with Ron Jaworski and a couple other guys, and they had that Legends bar at the bottom. The Holiday Inn's now Live Casino,
Yeah.
but back then, it was the place to go to after every Phillies game, after every Eagles game, whatever.
Right. Like Xfinity Live would be
Yeah.
now, Chicky and
Because
Pete's
that's
type.
before Xfinity Live,
Sure.
so there was no ability to do that then. I mean, it was like the only game in town. 'Cause
19th hole.
It was called, I think they called the bar like Ron Jaworski's Legends Bar or something like
That's
that.
awesome. Yeah,
So everyone that was anyone wanted to go over there.
sure.
And so I go to a Monday night game, and this is when Waters was playing with them. And I go over to the Holiday Inn afterwards, and I see Ken, and he said, "Didn't you tell me that you went to the same high school as Ricky Waters?" And I said, "Yeah." And he goes, "You know what? He comes over here after the games because we want him to walk around,
Sure.
and
That's good.
so we
good for the
give him a room, and he has dinner, and then he comes over and has a couple drinks, whatever." He said, "Do you want to go over and say hello to him?" I said, "Well, I don't know him.
Mhm.
I mean, he was 5 years after me." So he said, "Well, why don't you just go over?" And so Joe Pease is there. Now you know Joe, right?
My guy.
Joe was the starting point guard of my freshman. He was a senior when I was a freshman,
Love Joe.
and Joe's a great guy. So Joe and I said, "Joe, come on, let's go over and say hello to Ricky Waters." I did tell Ricky this story, so this isn't like I'm talking out of turn. So we walk in, and it's like the Last Supper.
Right.
This long table, and Ricky's right in the middle, and he's eating. And we, walked across. It was like a tiled floor, so you can hear someone walking across the tiled floor. And we get up there, and he's not picking up his head. Now, a couple other people were looking at us, and I said, "Hey, Rick, my name's Rory Retrievi. This is Joe Pease. We both went to McDevitt, a little bit before you."
Right.
And he never even picked up his head. He said, "Who cares?"
Oh, man.
Or something.
Rick's came a long way. He's come a long way.
So,
was that the for who, for what, Ricky?
It was the for what, Ricky, right?
Yeah.
And like, I got it, man. I mean, if, he was like.
He thought you were fanboying.
He thought I was fanboy.
Yeah.
Right.
And funny,
he probably, and he's eating dinner.
Yeah.
He didn't want to shake anyone's hand.
Right.
I
And you didn't want to go anyway, but you were talked into it.
I just wanted to say hello to the dude.
Home. Yeah.
Right. But he doesn't know that.
No.
Like, he didn't know that I just wanted to say hello. He probably thought I was looking for a picture or, shake his hand while he's trying to eat, So, but when he showed up that Thursday night, and I, didn't recognize him at first, and I'm looking over, and I'm like, geez, that's Ricky Waters. And I went over, and he's right away. Like, he was very gracious, and we had a great conversation. And he interacted with everyone so well. Thursday night, Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday. Oh, he stayed on the golf course all day Thursday. Didn't play, but he was.
And he had his sister and nephew.
Yeah.
And it was his uncle with him.
Oh my gosh!
And so we were shooting stuff too, and they all knew. They all knew. Everybody knows who my dad is. Right?
Yeah.
Like from one way or another, because between Steelhire and Harrisburg High,
right.
and John Harris, like Harrisburg, they know him. So
his sister and I actually went to school together.
She was amazing. I talked to her more than I talked to.
Yeah,
she had more because she was just making fun of him. It was great.
So they were sitting out in that lobby at the hotel, I think.
So I didn't see him until Wednesday.
Yeah. So he was at the Champions dinner Tuesday night.
See, I didn't see him there.
He didn't go to the dinner. He went to the
social,
to the cocktail.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And then he disappeared for the dinner because I think they were doing something else. They had some other event for him.
Yes, he had some kind of
like
charity.
Yeah.
He was something for kids.
Right.
Like it was a good.
But then he came back, and when he came back, I saw him and Rhonda and everything. They were all sitting out in that lobby, and I started talking to him, and then I realized Rhonda and I she was in my class.
It's amazing.
And we were cracking up.
I'm sure.
It was like 15, 20 minutes of just solid, like laughing and stories and talking about people that we went to school with. And then I was like, I got to get back in.
Yeah. That while you were talking, I cornered Joe Ado.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Anytime I can get with Joe Ado.
So it's funny because
he's revered in my crew.
Michelle, who was just in here taking the picture, she
sat at our table.
Main photographer.
Yeah.
And I got all of the pictures that they all took the night of the pairings party. And there's a picture of me and I can't remember who I'm with. And in the background, I see Joe Hansen talking to Joe Ayla.
That's it. Those two are, yeah.
And I was like, I wonder what that conversation was.
Just probably recapping of a few things.
So obviously I don't root for anyone, right? But when Quick and Alo won the shootout, it was a special moment.
Legit.
Yeah.
Well, you talk about two just
one
of ones, right? You talk about one of ones.
Honestly, without Joe Ayla, there's probably not me.
Yeah.
As you know.
You've told me that many times.
And
what a humble, just smart.
Oh, yeah. No, he's like
just a guy.
I'm telling you, Corey. Guy. So he was, I think he was a junior when I was a freshman at Pitt. And we were in the same fraternity. And actually, he was the assistant pledge master. And he was like perfect at that. But he introduced me to just pretty much everything in my life. Like he took me to I was at one professional football game prior to that. And it was an Eagles game with my dad. And I didn't even like the Eagles at the time. And we sat at the top of the vet. Like
up to the 700
barely
level.
Even see it. Looked like a bunch of ants running around on the ground. Joe took me to a Steelers Redskins game. 'Cause I was a Redskins fan. Right. So he knew that. And he said, hey, you want to go to the Steelers game? They're playing the Redskins on Sunday. And I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, of course.
Well, he had a box.
Of course he did.
So I go into the box. I'm like, what's this?
Yeah.
I can see.
Yeah. It's a
Then
whole
there's
different
food
thing.
and there's drink.
Yeah, you don't got,
He's like, calm down.
bathrooms
Man.
are different. Yeah, you don't have to. Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah, you have your own bathroom. It was amazing.
So it's funny you say that he was talking to Johansson. You have an interesting, hit Steve's dad. You owe him something. Like if it wasn't for Steve's dad,
I'll tell that story now. I mean, I know that you've heard that story, but Scott hasn't. So when I was still single, and Steve's dad was a customer of mine, and we had Senators tickets. So I invited them to a Senators game. It was like in the middle of the week, probably a Wednesday. I think it was Wednesday. And so we go to the game. Games, those games get over pretty early. And I said, hey, you want to, go grab beer or something? And he's like, nah, I want to get home and, put my kids to bed. And I was like, okay. Well, this kid was Steve, your friend. So I went out by myself, and I ended up going to Zemby's downtown.
Oh, well.
And that's the night I met my wife. I met her that night at Zemby's. And
it's all connected. It's all connected.
Every once in a while, I always say to Steve, if it wasn't for your dad saying no, I probably would have gone out with him somewhere on the West Shore or,
never happened.
Whatever, and it would have never
That's
happened.
something.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
So.
And then those two being together too, like, that's like full circle.
Yeah. So, so Joe Alo, big part of my early life, and Mike Quick over the last, 30 years. I mean, he's been such a great person for me to know, not because of his celebrity. I don't like that doesn't mean anything to me. No. But every time I ask that guy to come up here and help me, he just comes up.
He's just so good. Him and Jaws too. I had Jaws. The pleasure of playing with Jaws at an event. One of your hookups that you hooked me up with so kindly. Me and Johansson went down. We played at Glen Mills Country Club or something, and Jaws was on our team. We ended up winning the thing. He had to leave early. It's Brian Dawkins' thing.
Yeah.
And Jaws because we were playing well, so he was just kind of hanging out a little bit, hitting putts and all that. He was in that country club. There's people's homes there, so he was getting out and go. There's kids out there with signs, because there was a lot of celebrities there. He went and talked to every single kid and family. Jaws did the whole time, and I'm like, that's what it's all about.
Corey,
right? That's what it's all about with these things. Right?
I met him in, I think it was probably 1994, right after they bought that hotel, right after they did that Legends.
Did
maybe
he
94.
own all the golf courses then? Or was that just starting?
He had golf courses.
I played River Winds before, I think, the one that looks back over the city line, which is really cool.
So Jaws had some golf courses, including Valley Brook, which is in New Jersey. And he sold them all, except Valley Brook. And then he and Kuckenauer started, they started to build their own golf course business, and they ended up getting Blue Heron Pines and River Winds and Ramblewood and Downingtown and Honey Run for a bit of time.
Sure.
Ken still owns Honey Run on his own. So they built their own golf course empire. And, over time, I'm not saying that I was a good friend of Jaws in the middle 90s, but by the early 2000s, we had become pretty good friends. And again, he was like, every time I would invite him to come up and help me entertain clients, he was there. Same with Quick.
Yeah.
And so if you look at, and when I started the golf tournament, it was him, Mike Quick, Joe Pisarcik, and the great Bill Berge. But it was started with Jaws.
Sure.
I met Mike through Jaws. I met Berge through Jaws. I met Pisarcik through Jaws. And so as the golf tournament really started to become something, I had the idea of, like, in the NBA, who's the logo?
At West, but now they're saying they're going maybe Kobe.
Baby Kobe, right?
Yeah, which I'm okay with.
Right, yeah.
But Jerry West.
West had his time, and he was an important. Right. So I thought that's what we're going to do. So if you look at the logo for the golf tournament, it's a silhouette of Ron. Yeah, I had one day.
Awesome.
One day they came out. Michelle probably came out, and she took a bunch of pictures of him swinging. She also took a couple pictures of me swinging, and one of them was a really good silhouette. And everyone's like, "Use that as a logo." And I'm like, "No. It's going to be Ron,
stuff like that.
And it'll be Ron forever."
Forever, yeah. I love stuff like that. Yeah, that's perfect.
So,
great.
Thank you again, my brother, for
thank you.
The support. It was incredible this year.
We get more out of that than you do. Trust me.
Yeah.
That's our. That's like that's our only like philanthropy in our company that we were consistent with. And just every year it's like, we get so excited about it.
Yeah.
Right? And, you know, and then with my buddies that all have their own companies now,
Right.
we're kind of like, it's just like the week.
Yeah.
And Tuesday night, and I was going to come back to this real quick when Michelle, so when we're sitting there and she's like, who's this? Who's that? And we're trying to tell her who's who. And I said, the baddest guy in the room is Cale Sanderson.
Oh, yeah.
That nobody knows about. He is, and I don't want to go into a tangent, right? Well, I was down, they have like,
I'll go into a tangent.
PA bankers
Yeah.
have, we went down, we spoke at the retreat this year, and it was down in Florida.
Yeah.
Really nice week. Got a lot out of it. Just a super.
Was it in Naples or?
Oh my God. See, I'm drawing a blank now. Cindy's going to kill me from the bank.
Cindy Wallet.
Yeah, she's the best. So it'll come back. So we're down, and Mike Schoen and I go down. We present, and he was the keynote the last day. And you know, you're banking, like it's a room full of bankers, right? It's not a real, animated crowd or whatever. He got up and spoke just about leadership, and it wasn't about business. It was just how he sees it and how his guys respond to him, and just his mindset and them. That whole, it's us, it's a family. Block out all the noise, like no hip hop during practice, like just think. He wants his guys to be just all on the same page, and just. When I saw him sitting over there, I'm like, wow, Rory got him here. And I mean, you got everybody there. But like
PA Bankers was before that.
That was before that. And I heard him for an hour. And then I went over to him then, you know, I'm not shy to go up and, you know, fanboy a little bit, you know, but like.
I was fanboying.
Listen, that guy deserves it, right?
Yeah, man.
And I even text BJ from down in Florida, and I was like, hey, Marco Island.
Marco Island.
Beautiful. And I said, hey, Cale Sanderson is the keynote. I'm like, are you boys with him? BJ's like, oh, yeah. And I said, I'm going to try to talk to him, but I didn't get around to him. He was on stage, and they flew him right out because he had something going on, right? But then after dinner, Champions Dinner, which was amazing, we'll get to that. I went over and I said, hey, I just heard you down in Florida. And I said, I know you probably weren't like excited about a banking convention.
Speaking in front of, you know, 500
And
bankers.
I think he flew down and flew right back. He didn't even get to like hang out. Marco Island's beautiful. And I just told him, I said, you had everybody's attention in that room, and what you said is what it's all about.
So a lot of times, you know, just because you're good at something doesn't mean you make you a good public speaker. I would imagine he's got a pretty good message.
That's awesome.
A really good message of leadership. And was his delivery really good?
He
and
lets it rip. And
people on the end of their seats.
And I mean, there's not a lot of, I mean, he just tells stories and about like, one of the things that stuck with me, and just like, you think about it, like when you have a depth chart, right? You can only play certain people. He goes, I have 3 All-Americans at every weight class, and 2 of them every week, I got to say,
you can't play.
You can't go. And they could go anywhere else.
Right.
And they don't.
Because they just want to be part of that.
Because of that.
So,
it's like the Saban thing, right? It's like when he was at Bama, right?
Right.
You would rather go there and sit.
Right.
And maybe not even play that much. But you know you're
getting
drafted.
You're going to get drafted.
You're going to be against.
And you're going to have some great experiences. You know, you're going to go to 4 bowl games, and you might play for a national championship or 2.
Practice is harder than the games.
Right.
At that level, and you're going against the best, and you're going to be the best because you're going against the best.
So I got him there because Ira Lubert, who was standing with him at the, cocktail hour, sat with him at dinner. He told me, right off the bat, I'll get him there. He's not going to be able to stay. He can't stay, overnight. He might not even be able to stay for the whole dinner, and he didn't.
Right.
Like, he stayed
That's his thing,
until I went through all the introductions and everything, and then they had to go. And, so I certainly knew who he was, right? And I know that they won a lot of national championships, but I didn't know who he was, right? And I did my research, and I was like, oh, my gosh, he's got to be considered, in my humble opinion, the greatest coach, I'm going to say at any level, in any sport, maybe of all time.
He's on Mount Rushmore. He's on the Mount Rushmore.
Right. So
put it that way, right?
Who else would be on that Mount Rushmore? John Wooden, right?
Wooden, Saban.
Probably Saban.
I mean, you got to guess Belichick.
Yeah,
right?
Probably Belichick.
Joe Torre.
Like if you grab one, from every sport.
Yeah, right.
Right.
Joe Torre.
And maybe the woman who used to coach Tennessee basketball.
She just
name's slipping me right at the moment, Scott.
I see her.
Pat Summit.
Pat Summit.
Or Gino or
Auriemma.
Emma. like throw all
We need
them
more
into,
heads than,
you throw all that. Yeah,
than
no, it's
Rushmore,
like you got to have more than 4. Well, I was talking about this
Tiger.
with friends. Like if you have your Mount Rushmore of friends,
right.
My Mount Rushmore can't be 4,
No,
right?
no.
Like they should have put more presidents up
need
there.
a
So
dozen. You need a dozen.
yeah, you need a dozen.
You need a
You
dozen.
need a dozen. And,
Baker's dozen.
but if you know, clearly he's on the Mount Rushmore.
Oh yeah.
And then you start thinking about, like, I think the only person that could arguably be in the number one, the George Washington spot, other than him, would be John Wooden.
Right.
But I
Here's
still say,
here's the difference. When you introduced him, it was a 30-second intro about his wrestling days.
exactly.
And then it was a minute intro on his coaching days.
Right.
That's what makes him probably the GOAT.
And
He
that
did
I think
both.
that's the differentiator.
He did both.
Like that guy was the best college wrestler ever.
Yeah, he's by far the best college coach.
Scott, do you know, like, do you know his record was 159-0.
Yeah.
He's the only person to wrestle over 100 matches in college and finish undefeated.
He went to
He
Iowa
won
State
4
to beat
national
Iowa,
champions. Yeah,
right? He's like, I went to Iowa State to
I
show.
bet he still loves beating Iowa.
Oh, he loves it. He said that was when you saw him like peacock a little during his talk. That was it.
Yeah.
You know, bring
So
up Iowa.
he won 4 national championships as a player and 12, I think, or something like that as a coach.
It's unbelievable.
So the guy has 16 national championships, and like you just can't get a more dominant figure in a sport than that. 159-0.
And his message to his guys, his message should be out there more,
Right.
in my opinion, just in general, right?
Mhm.
Just for humanity. But it's about love of yourself, love of faith, love of hard work, love
Right.
of your fellow man, like the whole thing. Community, like education, like he said that if it wasn't for wrestling, somebody asked him, it was a great question. They've been up for some questions. And I think it was Duncan that asked him, goes, if it wasn't for wrestling, what do you think you'd done? He goes, I'd have probably just been a contractor. He said, I love just building things with my hands.
Yeah.
I love doing stuff like that. He goes, I need to be outside. I need to be working. I need to
Right.
be lumberjack. Like he didn't have aspirations to be like suit and tie guy. Like he
Right.
was always going to be grinding it out physically, probably challenging himself mentally every day. Like imagine that wrestling room
Right.
with those killers in it.
No,
every day,
I can't.
you know,
I can't imagine it. I mean,
the tops.
and the way he keeps a tight rein on that. I mean, look, it's great to think that you have a team full of thoroughbreds, but can you coach a team full of thoroughbreds?
That's the hard part.
That's not an easy thing to be able to do,
No.
man. And you've got to inspire all of them.
That's right.
You got to lead all of them.
Yeah.
And, having thoroughbreds is great.
Yeah.
Having one thoroughbred is great. Having a team full of thoroughbreds it's not an easy thing.
Imagine how hard it is recruiting sometimes.
So, like you've obviously played a lot more organized sports than I did. Who was your favorite? Who was from a coaching standpoint, who was the one that really made a difference in your life?
Oh man, I have so many. Fort Chapman was
Yeah.
unbelievable. Yeah. 101 with attention.
What was it? His, like, clearly from an X's and O's standpoint, he was like a special guy. Was it that, or was it the way he inspired you to perform?
When I got there, the X's and O's were already established.
Right.
Because he was pretty revolutionary before that with
Right.
that no huddle stuff. So they had it clicking for. I stepped into a good position. Like
Mhm.
if you go back to his tenure there, they really scratched and clawed, and they just consistently got better. But he took over a bad program at
Mhm.
the time. Got the weight training involved. Brought in some really good assistants. The oldest assistant on that staff was like 32 when I was there. It was a bunch of kids,
Right.
like 20-year-olds.
And he was young, right?
He was. He
Yeah.
was 30 maybe. Or
Yeah.
29. It was his attention to detail. I think that was really what you don't see a lot at high school levels. Another thing was conditioning. We were doing things back then that are popular now, but
Right.
like the stretching, the more the agility
Mhm.
work. We weren't just out running,
Right.
or lifting up as much as you could. We were
Right.
doing like dumbbell circuit work and all that
Things that
plyometric
actually
stuff.
helped you in game day.
Yes,
In the fourth quarter.
and then they would take us out, and Kevin Lawrence. I don't know if you know Kevin. He was a state champ track runner. He was Ford's best friend. His roommate. I'll talk about his foundation later. But they would, after we would do agilities and lift, they would take us to Susquehanna's track and run us into the ground.
Right.
Into the ground. Like I remember coming back from senior week, right, and I was like, had senior week, and then next time there, I was. They were crushing it. Like that's what they did all the time. So they had
Right.
us competing against each other. We'd play basketball against each other. Like we'd go over to his house and hang out. Like culture, big time. Locker room, big time. Like he was in there working with us. He was playing basketball with us. He was like, I'll never forget this. He tried to break a 5-minute mile. Like that was his goal for that. And he almost did it a couple of times, or a 4-minute mile. Whatever it was off the hook.
Yeah.
Like you can't, and he just takes off running. He's a big gazelle guy, and he almost got it close, but just that, I'm going to try to do this, right? And, just that's what I took.
So what's his foundation?
So Kevin Lawrence, right?
Yeah.
So it's True Colors, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he has it established at Steel High. He has it established at McDevitt, for sure. And it started a couple years ago, and honestly, it's an honor. The first scholarship they gave away was the Rob Deibler Leadership Award at Steel High.
That's nice.
So he reached out to me. He was like, we're going to start doing this. He goes, I couldn't think of anybody better. This was right after my brother passed away. And I was like, whatever, coach, let's do this. So every year, so they have this whole process where they vet. Let's just put it this way. It's for kids who are highly motivated, highly intelligent, who have a future, like laid out now, right? But they don't have the resources, right? They just don't, or they just need that little pat in the ass, whatever. And so what they do is take those kids, they could come from a bad family, whatever. There's a lot of things, and they help structure them, get them out in the public, and do these things. And so we just award scholarship money for them, and it goes, when they go into school, they have some money in their pocket, they have some book money, and make sure that they are developing these young men and women. So we've done it like 4 years now, and it's so great. But they have really blown this thing up. Like They are very, very, like you can see it happening. Like they're getting into the right places. Now that they have it at McDevitt and Steel High, you can just see it. We're inviting them over to our office and bring them over. Like there's a lot of accounting, there's a lot of finance, and kids want to go to pre-med and just certain things. And we go every year to the senior. I go and I present, I talk about my brother and just talk to the kids. You see like how good these kids are, right? And all these things, they just need a little help.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what that does. And that's kind of what my brother was about. And so so we haven't really, and I suck at this, like just with timing and everything, but I'm going to get behind it more, maybe do like some with my family every year, do not a golf outing, everybody does, but maybe like a little cookout or something in honor of my brother, and then just help fund.
Yeah, I was going to say, how are they getting their funding?
Well, they're getting it from corporate sponsors, individual donations, and some state money, I'm sure.
That sounds like something we'd be interested in.
And
so
it's ready.
Tell them to hit me up.
And it's ready, and you're going to love every second of it. And just the real deal.
That's what ultimately I love getting behind. Organizations that help people who really can't help themselves, right? So obviously with our golf tournament and breast cancer, that Pennsylvania Breast Cancer Coalition. So we give a lot of money to researchers, which is very important, right? Because we want to try to get this thing, cured. But the Pennsylvania Breast Cancer Coalition, like they're reaching out to women all across the state who are recently diagnosed. I don't know how they find out, but they probably pipeline to all the
little angels out
all
there,
the doctors, or whatever, and they give them care packages and this was a special thing about the golf tournament this year, and for the last few years, we have that thing called Project Pink, where all the women get together and they put together those care packages, and they write like notes.
Sure.
And
we had 3 of our young ladies.
Really nice.
It was Steph, Rachel Riley, and Sarah were there.
Yeah, good. So that's but I mean, what those guys are doing at Project Pink is just as important as what we're all doing out. We're all monkeying around on the golf course having fun. They're doing that,
connecting,
and it's I think they enjoy socializing with each other, but more importantly, like they're really doing stuff that is like going to impact someone tomorrow.
That's right.
And
from a donor perspective or for a corporate perspective, you get asked for money all the time.
Yeah.
Right. But you want to know that it's going to actually do something.
And
you see it. You
right.
feel it.
And you want to know that it's going to help out those people that just, they can't help themselves. And when we do the No Shave November thing.
Yeah, right. I love that.
That guy does prostate screenings all throughout like this general area. Mm-hmm. But he's gone to places where they don't have the money to do those screenings on their own, right? Or they just don't think about it, right? They don't have the insurance. So he does free prostate screenings with our money.
God bless. Yeah.
And that's the population that needs it most,
That's right?
Right?
Yeah.
So, and look, you get an early detection in prostate cancer, you got a good chance of beating it. You don't, it goes way down. So that's the stuff that if you can't get behind stuff like that, and I hear what you're saying about busy, it's tough. It's tough to find the time. That's why, I think one of the greatest honors for me is the ability to be the CEO of this company with the resources we now have.
Right.
Like, we didn't always,
No.
but when I first got here, we had very limited resources, and now we have, and when I say resources, I mean human resources. Like, we've got, with Dawn Spar and her team are doing, they were the original idea for the golf tournament. They were the original idea for No Shave November. That's who I would probably put Kevin on to, to figure out a way that we can support them.
You're gonna love it.
Yeah.
So with those resources, do you think that, I'm gonna ask you a question now.
Yeah.
Do you think that because of what you did during COVID to help everybody was like a springboard effect for
It was.
a lot of things Mid-Penn Bank?
Yeah.
Because as a friend, as a customer, as a, whatever I am to you, like, to watch that happen into the war room.
Yeah.
And to know, because you helped so many, right? And this is where I'll fanboy you a little bit, because there were local companies that we love, and even my brother's optometry firm, Morrison's. If you were banking with bigger banks, you weren't getting that money.
We weren't getting the money. And it was like, everyone thought in the beginning, like, the money was only going to last the weekend. And it lasted a little bit longer than that. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of those big banks didn't get around to doing anything. And, there were a bunch of local banks that did a really good job in PPP. I think we were the best of them. But more importantly than the number of loans we did and the number of jobs we saved, because it was like 7,500 loans, like over 100,000 jobs. Yeah. But the way that we did it and the way that we communicated to the customers with those videos, Corey, I still get people coming up to me today, total strangers, saying, "Hey man, thank you for doing PPP, and you saved my business, my family, my employees." And I remember a guy did that to me. I think I was just telling you this story last week. We were in Kentucky. I was I was with my boys, guys that I grew up with, and we're going to either a Sixers game or a Flyers game, and we're at the live casino steakhouse having dinner before we go to the game. And like t-shirt, jeans, whatever, baseball cap, and sitting there enjoying our meal. And all of a sudden I see someone standing next to me, and I look up and I said, "I help you?" He goes, "You Rory Retrieve?" And I was like, so I'm like, I'm leaning back, man. And I said, "Yeah, why?" And he goes, "You did my PPP loan." So now I could see that he's friendly. Right. So I stood up and shook his hand, and he said, "Listen, man, if it wasn't for you, I would have lost my family. I would have lost my business. I would have lost all my employees and all their families." He's like, "You saved all of us."
Certainly did.
And I was like, "Bro, you mind if I ask you, like, how'd you know who I was?" And he said, "Oh man, I watched all those videos you did." And he said, "I burned your face into my memory." And he said, "I walked by and I looked over at you and I said, 'That's Rory Retrieve.'"
That's
and I was
the
like,
real deal.
Wow.
Yeah.
It was like,
that
was cool stuff.
Well, you did it.
So, and I appreciate you bringing that up.
Yeah.
And we didn't do that to make more money. We didn't do that to expand our footprint. We didn't do that for any other reason, but we just knew it was the right thing to do.
Yeah. And the rest that comes with that is what should happen.
And because we did it so successfully, it put us on some maps that we weren't on before. It helped us down in the Philadelphia area where we did a lot of it,
right?
Because there weren't banks down there doing it. And, that led to better growth, bigger growth, more profitability, more employees. When I first got here, we had 170 employees, and we were $572 million in assets. Right. Now we're, close to $6.5 billion with 700 plus employees. And so we have a bigger footprint. And I just did an interview with NASDAQ, and I was saying to the lady, she said, "Oh, in your little community, you're doing a great job." And I was like, "Well, our little community's getting big now."
Yeah.
But, no matter how big it gets, and now we're in the greater Philadelphia metro area, which is the exact opposite of like Steelton, right?
Yeah.
There's, 6+ million people and, activity
way
all
different
over.
Consumer, way different businesses,
right.
Way different everything.
But
volume
the
out,
problems
deposits.
are still the same.
Oh, yeah, man.
Problems are still the same. There's still people that just can't quite, get to the sunlight
yeah.
and, can't get to the air.
Yeah.
And that's our jobs,
Yeah, they will. Yeah.
To help people.
The ones that will, right?
Yeah, right. So tell me about what did you want to talk about with the Champions Dinner?
That stuck with me for a long time. And
Jess?
Still has. Yeah. And I don't want to go, we don't have to, I just want to tell you, that was just one of those things where when you move fast and you do a lot of things, whether socially with your family or work wise, you run. Like, I'm a runner, you're a runner. Like, we run fast, and every now and then you got to get humbled, right? And my God,
that was humbling.
That was like dropped. Like,
and I'll tell you something. If she spoke instead of Greg, I don't know that any of us would have made it out of it, because he
was bad enough.
Yeah, I mean, she got bad news that day, and I didn't think she was going to be there. You know, I had invited her like a month earlier because I knew she was up against it, and that day they were like, look, she got really bad news today, so she's probably not going to be there. And I'm like, that's understandable. Sure. And then I get there and I'm like, wait,
dressed
I didn't know you were coming.
Smiling, hugging everybody.
And then just, like the next night she had, she's just an amazing woman.
Yeah, that's why it's an honor to be in that room. That Tuesday night, and I tell the people that love that Wednesday night, because Wednesday night's fun.
Wednesday nights,
it's a big party. It's great.
Best party.
It's great.
You're not going to a better party.
Yeah, no, it's like a big fun telethon, right? Just the people there, the whole nine. But man, Tuesday is what it's all about, in my opinion.
Yeah. The closeness of the celebrities and the sponsors is great. You get to sit down and have dinner with someone that you might be playing with the next day, or someone else. You have a cocktail with them, whatever. Go out and smoke a cigar afterwards. But when you hear messages like that, like Dr. Shah, when she got up and talked, and she's an incredible person. Yeah. So
changing the world.
After Jess got there, and Dr. Shah was already there. I went over to Dr. Shah and I said, could you come over and talk to this woman? Yeah. Got up, came right over, sat there with her for like 20, 25 minutes. And you could just tell they were like bonding. And I'm sure she helped Jess, and maybe Jess inspired her, back and forth. And so when she gave her speech, which wasn't really emotional, but it was very technical and it was inspirational.
That's why we're here, right?
That's right. That's why we're here. And then, for Greg to stand up there and
did he just let it rip? Like, he just let it rip?
Let it rip. Because I said to him, like, do you
want to say something?
Would you like to say something? And she said, no, I really don't want to. And he said, yeah, I'll talk. And I said, are you sure? And he's like, yeah. And I was like, you're going to be able to be cool? And he's like, yeah, I will. I don't know how he did that, man.
Me neither.
I couldn't do that.
Something's helping him. Yeah, somebody.
I'm almost crying right now talking about it.
I know. It was, I mean, that stuck with me to now. Like, obviously, like, that was.
So that's, like, you guys always have that saying, that's why we do what we do, or it's what we do.
Yes.
And Corey, you and I, undefined relationship, right? You're a customer, you're a friend,
you're a mentor,
you're my little brother.
Right? If I'm having a bad day, I know I could call you to make it better.
And vice versa. Like, you've been very generous with the comments about me and comments about guys like Joe Alo, but I could turn those right back on you, man. And like, you are a very unique individual, because, I know you didn't come from a lot, and, you had the athletic part, but you also educated yourself, and you have gotten into a business at the ground floor and, got up to the highest level of that business, and you inspire all of your employees. And I don't think Key Tax has scratched the surface of what it's going to become. I really don't, because I love your focus. I love your game plan and the way you go about your business, man. And it's from the heart and it's from the head, and probably equal parts. And it's just an impressive thing to watch.
I appreciate everything you say. It's not all true, but
no, it is.
I would attribute probably back to where I came from.
Yeah.
When you're around certain individuals who they don't quit, they're always competing, right? Everybody always wants to do better, be better, right? And it's never really about money when you come from a place like Steel, because you don't know where I said you don't come from a lot,
but you did come from a lot. Because you had a great mom, great dad,
and I wasn't
great
going
family.
There.
Yeah,
I just think it's that whole concept though, and it goes like, I'm a sports guy, right? So I equate business to the locker room, right?
Yeah.
So am I a CEO type in my mind? Absolutely not, because I know you. I know Werzen, I know Kindler, I know CEOs. I'm not that. But what I am, I would say, would probably be more of a head coach.
Yeah.
Who used to be a coordinator.
Right.
Who used to be a position coach. Who
Right.
used to be a grad assistant. Who used to, like, but now the game is totally different than when we started. I started in this gig 20 years ago, flipping through boxes of paper, getting paper cuts. And you made photocopies, you petitioned things.
It was grimy,
right?
grimy
Nobody
work,
wanted to do it. Nobody still wants to do it, but now it's digital. So I really think the main thing that I'm trying to do now, and this is after 20 years of doing the same thing over and over again and seeing what works, seeing what doesn't. COVID changed everything with technology. But when I started in this gig, it was around 2001, where like the PeopleSofts and the SAPs and the Oracles, like the accounting ERP started to hit the market and be implemented. That's when I came into the industry. So I got to see those things kind of on the ground floor. And that's still kind of my thing is these systems, right? How these accounting systems work. How do you get to the goods where we can solve the problems and get the money back and do all these things. And I think, and I hope you're right about the scratching the surface thing, because what we're trying to do now, leveraging like AI and tech and stuff.
That was going to be my next
I got a
question.
really good story at some point about what we're trying to do with that, and it's I'll go into it now if you're ready. But it's
go baby.
So we had an intern, Davidson, Clay,
yeah,
Brady.
Yep.
Brady's our guy, and Heath, right? Golfer, West Shore, like they're the best, right? So Brady was an intern, like Olivia Retrieve, many years before.
Very
still
influential.
one of my favorite interns.
She loved you. She loved working there.
Just a little tangent. Like I just remember there, teacher in the ropes, going through some stuff. She was very good, very smart. Like she didn't want to mess up. They make mistakes. Like relax, it's okay. You can screw up.
She's still that way.
We all screw up in here.
Right.
And I said, just remember, we do it in pencil, not pen. We can go fix that. And then we just taught her about Smokey Robinson, and I don't know, we're talking, just little things like that, and then we just evolved, and then now I see her just meet her and a boyfriend every year at the she's growing up, just this sweet young kid. But anyway,
now she's out influencing people like you did for her.
Amazing, right? So Brady comes in, and in our office at the time, this was 2 years ago. It's just stacks of paper. We're heavy paper, like in this paperless environment. We still have to produce and print out paper to send to the government for them to review or scan it in, all this stuff. And Brady's there looking around the office, and there's like towers of paper. And he's like, there has to be a better way to do this. And I said, we're all busy. I said, yes, there is. Can you please go figure it out?
You find it, right?
Please, right? So he goes back to Penn State, gets into this entrepreneurial club. You remember the movie Risky Business when they had to put the business together? Joel, and they're like doing a tape recorder and they're doing the whole nine, and then they're pitching a business, and that's part of their business course. Well, they have clubs at Penn State, and he's in this entrepreneurial club. So he comes up with the concept of Saveware, and developing it alongside each other. It's his thing. I'm riding shotgun, right, helping him out, and puts his concept together that instead of eventually doing data entry off of these invoices or supplying reports that you're getting from them, we take the invoices now and it reads them, scrapes them into OCR, and populates them into a usable format that we can see that hyperlinks the invoice. So instead of us ever flipping through paper and PDFs and all this stuff, it reads it for us.
So it's not, you still need employees. It just makes them all more efficient.
Right. So he goes and pitches this to the club, right? So fast forward, he ends up winning it, right? Wins this thing, and he gets some seed money, right? He gets like 50 grand.
Nice.
Yeah. So when he was pitching it, his partner now in this Saveware business is this kid Ryan, who was like, they call him the Zuckerberg of Penn State. He's a student, but he runs the IT faction of this club where they're developing businesses. Ryan's job was to assign one of his IT guys to the projects and let him help take it to the next step. Because Brady wasn't the only one. There's a lot of these at Penn State. Ryan goes, I want that one. So now we got the best guy with Brady, with the concept, and now this thing is damn near functional. Right. And there's one of their mentors up there at Penn State. There's so many people that are helping in that entrepreneur club. It's a VC guy, gives them some cash for a little stake in this thing, and now we're running. So now in the next month or so, it's pretty usable. And
so Scott, it's probably a good time to tell you what Key Tax actually does, right? because you
That
can't
makes
tell
sense. Yeah.
just by the name.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try to describe it,
Go ahead.
and then you can tell me what
Please do,
where I'm
yeah.
wrong. In short, so people and companies pay sales tax, but companies shouldn't always pay sales tax. So what Key Tax does is they'll go out and audit a company's expense reports for a period of time, 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, and they'll find out instances where they paid sales tax that they shouldn't have paid. They then compile all that and go to the Pennsylvania Department of Revenue and appeal those state taxes and try to get it back. Is that about right?
Yeah. And you scrape a little.
Yeah, and you
Scrape a little bit,
you get
you
a
know?
commission off of that,
Yeah.
and
But
they
that's really
they
it.
do it. So banks pay a lot of sales tax accidentally that we're not really obligated to pay, and Key Tax comes in.
So
You don't come
we're
in
like
every
the-
year, but you come every couple
We've
of
been
years.
doing it now because of with the everybody's in bank teller and all these
Right.
electronic. It's easier for us to do it on the air, but
Right.
it's some of our bigger clients like the Wawas of the world, we're in there all the time,
Right.
Just because
Yeah,
they're just that's the way you have to do it. We used to say we're the Doge of sales tax. Like we go in there, but it's
Right.
not. So the overpayment stuff is great and getting the money back, but I think we're pivoting more just because it's just smart and the right thing to do now, and to get ourselves out there more is we're trying to offer way more of the I don't know, like partnerships with people we know that in the payroll space or we're almost part of like a consortium of savings now where if we can't come in and save you money, we might have a guy that can come in and do different kind of tax work
Right.
that we don't and just do things like that.
And I think that makes a ton of sense. Not only making your business more efficient, as you just described, but finding ways to diversify.
Yeah, definitely. And the other side of it is like everybody gets under audit, right? Eventually, if you're big enough. And what we like to do is come in and, people would think it's going to be this big combative thing with the Department of Revenue. It's not. I mean, they have a job to do. We have a job to do. You get it pretty much right most of the time. And if you don't, there's different steps. You keep appealing it. But our job at the end of the day is to make sure you're compliant.
Yeah,
Right. And there's no, the refunds are great, but at the end of the day, you shouldn't have to keep paying me for the same, so we
Right.
come in and try to be more proactive. Where that gets hard is there's different levels of determination, right? So I don't want to bore the audience with the nuance of this, but like just in Pennsylvania, and we do it in all the states where this work is done. We primarily are Pennsylvania centric. We think we're the best here, and it's our bread and butter state, but you have the Bureau of Audits that come out and audit a company and say, here's where you owe. And they look at purchases a certain way with a determination, and what they say is that's gospel at that thing. And then the next step would be the Board of Appeals, still Department of Revenue. They have a little bit of different interpretation on certain things. So you got to pass that test to get the money back again. Then after that, it goes to the Treasury Department, Board of Finance and Revenue. They look at it a little bit different. And they're separate and distinct from the Department of Revenue. So they have a whole different view of it. And then whatever we don't get back, it goes to Commonwealth Court, sits at the AG's office for a while. And then if we can show our case, there's a little bit of more back. And if not, it's done. So we don't, it's not like a tax like in the tax code like the IRS, or if like it's on it. I always say this to CPAs, like, do you remember any all those questions on the CPA exam about sales tax? And they go, there weren't any. There wasn't one.
Right, yeah,
There's not
right.
one. That doesn't mean CPAs aren't good at this. They are. That doesn't mean tax attorneys aren't
But
good
this
at
is
this.
specialized.
It's
specialized
nobody wants
accounting.
to do this crap.
Right.
So we compete against boutique firms like us, and then we compete against the big accounting firms. And listen, I'm not here to dirty recruit, right, or anything, but what we've seen over the years is nobody wants to get into sales tax ever, right? Like they want to go be CFOs. They want to get into corporate net income tax. They want to make some money. They want to get out. And they might plop some of these very, very good up and coming risers in the sales tax realm because the big boy firms can do this. They do this. They just don't get as granular as we do. So they give them a list of things to go grab some low fruit, do what you got to do, research, get some money back, make us look good. But those big four accounting firms get fees on everything. So they can kind of not be that great there.
Right.
When we come in and follow them up, it's not pretty.
So how do you grow the business by just getting more clientele?
So
like, do you go to one of the companies that you've been working with, like MidPen? And I know we've done this for you. When you're looking at adding other banks, we'll say, yeah, they do a great job for us.
Yeah.
But is that the way you grow the business, or do you?
Historically, that was kind of the way it went. It was word of mouth.
Right.
And it was do go work and then ask about it.
Yeah.
But it worked.
Right.
It definitely worked. And we grew and we continued. But recently I brought in Mike Schoeneman, who met.
I didn't realize this, but I was talking to him. They were sitting at the top of 9 or 18.
Yeah.
18.
With the tent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when I went up there and I was introducing myself to all your gang, he said, well, you know my sister.
Yeah.
And
Aaron.
I said, I don't know. And he said, Aaron.
Yeah.
I think she manages one of your
Brant's,
business. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't know
Is it
that.
the Millersburg? I don't know.
No, it's Dolphin. Not Dolphin. It's Halifax.
Yeah.
Halifax. Yeah.
You're in good hands there.
Yeah. She was a great
family.
family.
Yeah. I was best friends with his older brother, Ray, for many, many years. And then when I transferred to McDevitt, Mike and I started hanging out.
Mm-hmm.
He actually started at the firm I started at many, many moons ago and was getting into some sales, but he was doing more of the grunt work, left and went out in the enterprise payroll space, the Paylocities, the ADPs of the world. And so his whole gig is referrals, right? And rev shares and doing that. So that's our thing now. And we went down like the private equity route a year ago or so.
Mm-hmm.
And Heather, I wish she was here because she was very influential in helping us there. We did like quality of earnings report with RKL and did those and just went through the process, right? And then talked to some of my buddies who went down that route, who are the CEOs that I'm not. Like I already said, I'm not. My brain doesn't process things like that. That's not my game at all. And basically it was Steve Kindler goes, dude, he goes to me, do you want 20 bosses? And I went, no. He goes, you're not ready.
Right.
And then RKL said the same thing. Like, you're not, just hang
It
in
might
there.
be there. It might be
Hang in
someday
there.
in the future.
Yeah,
but
5 years,
not
7 years, hang in
Right.
there. And
build it up.
And that was the hot thing at the
Right.
time. And then whatever, it just didn't work out. And then, so now, like we went through the process with Cindy, who's great at the PA. So now we're the preferred vendor there.
Oh,
so
good.
we went through that whole,
And
vetting.
Have you done that same thing with PACB?
No. They're the only ones we did. But now we're very engaged with Luke Bernstein at the PA Chamber of Business Industry. And we've been meeting more with, law firms who we already done work for, accounting firms now, where we're positioned now that it's like when the easy button, when somebody has a sales tax issue, one of their clients, now they have a resource that they might not have had before. Even though they had people, they might have had the people who could handle a job here and there, but they don't have the grunts that can go do a monster company and turn it around quick and keep doing, it's just, they're not built for that. Or they bill hourly. Nobody wants to pay for this work hourly because sometimes they're going to get a big bill and maybe that refund's not that big. So that's our business model there. So now we're almost like the hotline and getting word out there amongst those firms. And the way we're doing that is we actually are looking at those firms to show them what we could do for them before we roll out. And whether they want to go forward or not, that's up to them. But we're going to show them where the bodies are buried. So now when their associates and their partners have an issue with their clients, they know that we know what we're doing.
So you mentioned before that you have two competitors, boutique firms like you, and then
the big boys. Yeah, the
EYs. Big boys being like
EYs, KPMG.
So would more local type accounting firms, would they be potential referrers for you?
Yeah, anybody. Honestly, like, yes. I mean,
when I say local, I mean small.
Yeah. But small is like, to us, like anything bigger than say like a couple branch bank and up is a possibility. Or like, and we don't like to go down to like the car dealership route, or we could spend all day every day just going car dealership, probably find a couple thousand, that'd be a great business for somebody. If I was starting from scratch, that's what I would do. If I was starting right now, I would start there and
don't give anyone any ideas.
Go ahead.
Scott's over there writing things down. We'll tell you right now.
and then go from there, right? But yeah, you just keep doing good, right? And then it just kind of works itself.
Word of mouth.
Yeah.
So what's Schoeneman's? What's his actual title? Like,
Schoeneman. So he's a head of business development. Like he gets it. He knows the business, and
you could tell he actually came up and talked to me.
Yeah, and we're using it as no, we're not using it, but like the people we're partnering with on the enterprise software side are actually leveraging us to help offset their costs for their big applications. So if we have a software partner of ours that's selling a payroll service and it's going to cost the client $500,000, to do a milestone switch over. But hey, wait a second. We got these guys that might come in and offset all that, if not more, depending on if the company's big or not.
Right.
So that's attractive to a lot of these companies. And then, hey, when the state comes auditing, they should know that there's firms out there like us that can help them. And it doesn't have to be ugly. And it's not ugly. We get along for the most part with the people we deal with on the auditors. And I mean, the devil's in the details, and the details are on the invoices. Doesn't matter what I say, right? I got it. The invoice says one thing and we back it up. And if it doesn't pass the test, it doesn't pass the test.
And so who's your prototype? Like, I know obviously banks are like great prospective customers. Right now. What other types of businesses
retail.
Are like retail business?
Yeah. So,
like
I got to be careful.
Like the convenience stores type.
We're under NDAs and things, but like I can say, Wawa is a huge one for us. And Ollie's. Okay. Newer on the Ollie side.
Right.
Wawa's been forever.
Right.
Select Medical is a great client of ours. Foot Locker. All the law firms.
Yeah.
Dwayne Morris is big. Morgan Lewis, like the big boys, right? CPA firms we haven't cracked into yet, but we're there. We're meeting with them, and it's just a matter of, do they like what we're saying? Can we help them out? It's not so much we're going to get back. We're going to get some money back for them if they let us and they want us to, and we're going to help their customers. Yeah. So and then we're lucky enough to, when you get into like the West Shore Homes of the world and Planet Fitness with Steve Kendler at National Fitness Partners, it's not that there's anything wrong there. They're growing so fast. So we're just riding along and making sure that there's nothing crazy going on.
West Shore Homes doing business in
it's nuts.
22 states, I think he said.
It's nuts. Yeah.
So. But
I'll tell you what, though, and here's the crazy part, and they scale it better than anybody, is the unfair thing to some of these companies, just because they don't, the resources, or they don't expand or broaden their tax teams with growth. So you might have some of these bigger monster companies we do work for. It's the same folks that were there 15 years ago, and they didn't add anybody.
Right.
But they tripled in size. West Shore Home scales with technology and people and multiple controllers, and they get it, right? And because that's just their choice. But when you're limited, and if I'm a business, and do I put the money in tax people, or do I put them in marketing? It's I'm going to go.
Right.
It's just
that's always the way I looked at it. It's like the amount of money that you guys get back for us. It's not like it's not going to make a great year, or the difference between a great year or a bad year, but it pays for a couple of employees.
No doubt.
So I can go out and hire a couple people because you're going to come in and
for sure
recapture a little bit of money for me.
Yeah. So or your community stuff, right?
Yeah.
Like it's easier to cut a check to a foundation if things are coming in, and or invest back in technology, because that's
or invest back in technology.
Oh my God.
Right.
The things we see, it's nuts.
So you've mentioned some really big names in that little part of the discussion. And I know you've got a great circle of friends. Guys that are all, CEOs or business owners, sometimes both. And like, do you guys, I never joined one of those young presidents club. What are those things called?
The young professional.
YPO, yeah. I never did any of that.
We build our own.
Yeah. Did you build your own? Like, is there any formality to that, or?
Here's how it happened. And this is a beautiful story. It was COVID, right? And over at the West Shore Country Club, we had the social distancing rule. So every Friday, Johansson and myself, everybody thinks Steve and I knew each other for decades. We met in COVID. Right. And we were both in the same circle, knew everybody, and we met each other and hit it off immediately. And then we're sitting in the corner table there, and we're taking calls, we're doing business, we're just having some fellowship, and then I meet Wurzen, right? And I knew the Kindler family forever. And then all the buddies there, and the Davidsons, and Will Hoover, and all these other entrepreneurs. And then here we are. And now we're starting to refer to
Chismar.
Chismar, right? And I don't want to, the whole crew, right?
Yeah.
All of them. And I forget, we can go down and just make sure I don't forget them. Every single one of those guys runs a different business. Right. And they're all entrepreneurs, and they all have woes, and they all have, and a lot of them shot, rocket ship, PE, everything. So within that group, I was just like, oh my God.
And you guys get that, like you talk about
everything.
Issues with labor and issues with
Phil Brankel, BJ's CFO, like his dad Denny, like that guy was Phil was raised to be the guy. With the banking
his
background.
Dad was,
like his dad's the guy, the chairman, right?
So
lucky me, right? Like here we are, right? Like so, I don't have to pine too much over making decisions because I pick up the call. I'll call 3 people, including yourself. Like I'm blessed with it, but I'm also not dumb enough to sit there and think that it's my idea, right?
But it's like it's you guys call
we all root
it
for each other.
getting together for fellowship.
Yeah, we all root for
which
each
is
other,
great,
right?
That's a good thing. But like you don't want to be the guy that's always calling someone else and saying, "How do I do this? How do I do that?" But if you're getting together with guys who are doing things just like you are, it's like you could be each other's sounding board.
Equated like this, like just be ready. Envious. I mean, just be ready when your number's called when you're on a group of guys like that, right? Because
you might one person might be a little bit more of a receiver than a giver in an environment like that's okay too, man. Because sooner or later you're going to be given. Yeah, right.
No doubt. I have no shame.
Right.
I know for a fact I'm going to get the best, real, true advice.
Right.
From guys like BJ, Phil, Kindler.
Yeah. I'm not, it's like
lucky
I
me though, Rory. Like not too many people can pick up the phone and get that.
I think all business owners, all business executives could use a group of guys like that. People.
Sure.
When I say guys, I mean
it's like I got a guy for that.
Because I know one of your guys is Heather.
Right. Oh,
right.
She's the best.
Yeah.
By far.
She is the best.
She's changed the trajectory of our business by just, I mean, it's amazing.
I said this in one of the classes that Scott has at the university that I always thought that I was the best business development person banking ever saw. I'm nowhere near as good as her. Yeah. And it's because she's got great interpersonal skills, but she also gives really good advice. Yeah. Right? Like she's
patient too.
And if she doesn't know the answer, she'll go find the answer.
Right.
She's really exceptional in it.
And that's the whole thing too. Like you think that you have to be a certain way to be successful at business. What I've learned is just be yourself. Mm-hmm. And if people don't want to do business with you, who cares?
That's right.
Like, I'm sorry. You like, there's other people out there maybe where I'm just not for you or whatever.
Right.
But those guys and girls, the whole team that we kind of have, we all root for each other.
Yeah. Yeah, but that everyone's on each other's side. You got each other's backs. And that's the most important thing. And I do have guys like that in my life. Not as big of a group, and we don't get together as often, but yeah, there's you got to have that.
There's no doubt. There's people. If we could sell a subscription to our text chain, that people would want to be. I mean, the things that are covered on a daily basis, like all of our wives hate it.
Well, that's what I always talk about. I had dinner with Seth Joyner a couple weeks ago, and I'm always amazed by that. Like that after the champions dinner or after the pairings party, when we're in the one of those 2 cigar parties. And all those linebackers get together.
Oh, yeah.
And, we've had Lawrence Taylor and we've had Ricky Jackson and we've had Greg Lloyd and we've had Seth Joyner and we've had Andre Tippett and, on these dudes to sit around. And I'm like, a couple times I just went over and sat there and listened. And I felt like I was stealing something from someone because you should have to pay to do that. Yep. And, that's the same type of thing, right? Those guys all went through similar things.
It's amazing. And we get to sit there, lucky us to sit there and just listen sometimes when those guys are talking about some serious, monstrous business stuff. I mean, everything's serious and monstrous to you individually. Of
course.
But it puts you in a position where you are like, it's easy for you to see the whole field, right? And those guys are so generous with just including certain. At different times, we all you get your number called. You go on a trip or you sit in on something. You're sitting at it. Like I'm sitting in on meetings with big time investment people from Wall Street. Like you don't get access to people like that all the time. So if you don't take advantage of it, you're an idiot, right? Like that's the way I look at it. But if I don't pass that on or use that to if you come in our office and see the climate in there, it's an open learning, like I call it a teaching hospital. Like I want everybody in there to hear me when I'm on my calls. I want everybody in there to hear when there's an issue because then you start thinking, if everybody has their door shut, right, you're not going to get all that goods. If you don't pay attention to people like that when they're talking,
Shame on you.
Shame
right.
on you.
If you have the opportunity to listen and you don't pay attention, that's a you thing.
Well, and so like one of the first things, well, not the first was, put your head down, get it done, that kind of stuff from those guys because they did it. But then like get off Facebook.
Right.
I got off Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
You got off Facebook, right? It's like personally, like it's kind of depressing, right? Sometimes, but you get caught up. I was spending way too much time a day on there. So now I split that. Now I'm on LinkedIn. So I'd rather spend those time scrolling on LinkedIn where I might be prospecting business or seeing a cool product
or spending
something
more time,
interesting
spending more time with your kid.
Yeah,
or,
right.
Doing anything.
And I'm not on there like, oh, this person's acting.
Right.
Like, I don't care. Like, I do care, but it's just a distraction.
And I know, like, I'm not trying to badmouth anyone that does, spend time on their phone because I think it's an easier thing to do. But if you took the amount of time that you spend looking at a screen, not for business, I'm saying just
stuff,
and you stop doing it tomorrow, and instead, went to the gym or spend more time with your family or read a book, a business book or whatever, you'd be a way more productive person.
No doubt. And I think about it this way too. Like, all right, you only have 24 hours in a day. You sleep a certain amount. You spend some time with your family for the other amount.
Right.
And then the rest you're working or doing things. And everybody's always saying, well, work smarter, not harder, right? Well, what do you do when everybody you're working against is smart?
Right.
Right? Then you work harder.
Right.
But if you only have that many hours to work harder, you have to sacrifice things that you can sacrifice to backfill, but that's where scaling gets into it. Right?
My motto is work smarter and harder.
And harder. Yeah. Right.
Doing both.
Yeah.
And if you do, then you could accomplish some wonderful things as you are.
Trying.
And I'm a little bit further down the road because I'm a little older.
Sure.
But again,
you blazed the trail, and then here we come and
I knew this was going to happen.
We're done.
Well, we're not done.
No.
But I'm looking up at the clock and I'm like, oh man, Scott's going to have to figure out how to fit this all in. You got to come back.
Yeah.
And we got to get Heather here and we'll talk maybe a little bit more business.
Yeah.
And,
that's all good.
But I knew that it was going to be like this.
Yeah. We got into about 10% of it. Well, I said we should have this live at Sammy's for our quarterly update.
Like that's an actual thing. Maybe we do
on site.
Maybe we do a remote podcast like we did at the golf tournament last year. But we get you and Werzen and Johansson and you're going to have like 50 microphones and I don't know how anyone's going to get over
it. That has to happen.
But I think that's a great idea. Scott, get on it. All right, my friend. Thank you for coming in, man. I love you too.
Yeah.
And we'll get you back in at least with Heather, and then that's a great idea. So who do we have coming up next, Scott?
Luke Bernstein.
Oh,
Luke Bernstein. That's going to be a fun one.
He's a national treasure.
Yeah, he is a national treasure, as is our previously mentioned friend Joe Alo and Mike Wick.
They're all over.
So everyone, we'll be back in a couple of weeks. But Corey, thanks for coming in today, and good luck to you and the whole Key Tax family, and to Grayson and Sophie and Nicole. You have a beautiful family. I love keeping up with you guys. All right, we'll see you in a couple of weeks.
All right, brother.
Thank you for listening to the Mid-Penn Bank Podcast. You can find more episodes at Apple Podcast, Spotify, Amazon, and more. Do you have a question about the podcast? Email us at podcast@midpennbank.com. References in this podcast to MidPenn are to MidPenn Bancorp, Inc. and its subsidiaries and affiliates. This podcast expresses the views of its participants and may not represent the views of MidPenn or its officers and employees. In addition, these views are subject to change without notice, and MidPenn has no duty or obligation to update the information contained in this podcast. This podcast is being made available for informational purposes only and should not be used for any other purposes. You are encouraged to consult with competent legal, tax, accounting, or investment professionals before engaging in any financial transaction. MidPenn does not make any warranties as to the accuracy or completeness of the information in this podcast, does not endorse any third-party companies, products, or services, and assumes no liability for your use of this information. Forward-looking statements should not be considered guarantees or predictions of future events. This podcast is the sole property of MidPenn and may not be copied, reproduced, republished, or posted in whole or in part in any form without prior written consent of MidPenn.